Okay, so this afternoon we're going to be taking a look at the Working Title modded CJ4 citation, Cessna citation in Microsoft Flight Simulator, just to have a look at how to operate it and how to fly it. We're going to do a very quick flight. If we have a look on the little nav map, I've sketched in a flight from Heathrow. We're parked on the ground at Heathrow. We're going to follow a standard instrument departure out of Heathrow and then fly into Southampton International Airport. So it shouldn't take very long at all. Let's go inside the aircraft then. So we're cold and dark on the ground. So we go and turn on the batteries to begin with, and we get some warnings coming up about oil pressure and fuel pressure. That's obviously, pretty standard stuff. So we can go and turn on the avionics. And just out of interest, so we're looking, so battery amperage, fuel pressure, oil pressure, these are all to do with the engines not running. So we can actually shut those warnings up for the moment. Because normally you'd be setting up the FMC before you start the engines, so you'd have a few minutes at least. So initialize position, initialization, we choose the position from the GNSS system, and that does that, and it's done. And now it's complaining there is no flight plan, so we go into flight plan and we have to put in our origin. So we are at Heathrow, so the international code for Heathrow is EGLL, so we put that in, and we are going to Southampton. If we go and look on the little nav map, the code for Southampton is EGHI. EGHI. And that's that done. So it's saying 46 miles between the two airfields, which is fine. So we can go, we don't have to fill anything that's got hyphens. We can go straight to the performance initialization page and put in our cruising altitude, and we're just going to say 6,000 feet, which is the height of the exit of the standard instrument departure that I've chosen. And then we can go to takeoff for the next page. Outside air temperature is 25 degrees centigrade. I've already checked it. We don't need to fill in any of the rest of it, and that's pretty much it for the performance. So departure arrival information. We are going to leave Heathrow on runway 27 left, and we're going to do the GOG S2G. We've got 1G there. We're going to go for GOG S2G because it's obviously been updated slightly, and we'll execute that. And we'll go back and we'll look at the arrival airport. So departure arrival, we're going to arrive into Southampton, and let's go and have a look. We just want the ILS for runway, what is it, runway 20, or 20 I should say. So ILS for runway 20, and we'll execute that. Okay, so if we just go and quickly check, look in the legs page and make sure there are no discontinuities. So we can go next page, and we have got a discontinuity. Yeah, so at the end of the SID, it's the star, it's basically saying it wants something else put in. So let's have a look, and you can see here I've added one more waypoint called PEPIS. So we'll put that in here as well. PEPIS, and insert it, and it's figured it out, and execute. So just to verify that, what we can do is come up and click on the format button up here a couple of times, and you'll see a map, and if we zoom out you can see the entire route is there. Okay, so it's obviously complaining about pressures. We're not going to use air traffic control or anything like that, so we're not going to have to request permission. So we switch on the engines, and then we click the starters for the engines, and you hear them spooling up. We can also turn on our lights while we're here, so the beacon, nav and strobe lights. We'll turn on our taxi lights, we'll turn on the seatbelt sign. While we're doing that, we're going to the tuning page, and we'll switch the TCAS mode to transmit receive. Okay, so we're looking good. Waiting for the engines to come up, so these warnings will disappear one by one. So it's just telling us now that the starter is running. So we will need flaps 15 for takeoff, so I'm doing that now. Now we have engines, we have hydraulic pressure, so we can control the control surfaces. And we'll go and change this is the master control panel for the autopilot. We'll go and pre-configure it. So we want this heading to be preset to 270 degrees, which is our takeoff direction. We'll pre-configure the altitude for cruise to 6,000 feet straight off the bat. So we just spin it. I'm watching the number over here, by the way. So this is the target altitude for the autopilot. Okay, and then we are going to go for vertical speed mode when we take off, and we can pre-configure it to say climb at say 3,000 feet a minute. It's going to be a very quick climb out. We're not going to follow the VNAV instructions because the simulator doesn't actually support VNAV properly yet, which means none of the external aircraft or none of the third-party aircraft can properly do VNAV yet. So we've set the head. Oh, we'll go for heading mode as well. We can switch to nav mode while we're in the air, and the aircraft will switch over to using the programmed route. Okay, what else do we need to think about? The pitot heat. Switch those on. And I think we're pretty much good to go. So, okay, so come off the parking brake, increase the throttle gently, and we're rolling. So, full right rudder. And again, remember I said we're not using the control tower, so we're just going to taxi straight out to runway 27 left, or 27 left at Heathrow. So I've got live weather on, so I'm not quite sure what weather we're going to experience. There's a little bit of wind. Oh, there's somebody doing aerobatics in a commercial plane. That's really helpful. Have a look from outside. So we'll get out of the way of this lot. One of the big problems with this being, well, it's not really a problem, but one of the features, shall we say, of Microsoft Flight Simulator is because you can see live traffic in the server you're on, unless you restrict it via the various options, you are going to get some people just having fun doing aerobatics and messing around in all manner of aircraft. I can't really criticise them because I've done it in the past as well. Excuse me. So we just do a quick check round. We've got the flaps set for takeoff. There is no auto throttle in the C4J, so we have to control speed ourselves, which isn't such a big burden. It's nice to have something to do. Right, just before we pull onto the runway, I'm just going to have a quick look outside. So now how annoying this is when people do it to me. No, there's nothing on approach. Just before we get going, I always forget to do this. Just turn the volume up for the simulator so you can hear the systems on the aircraft. The reason I've mostly got it turned down is because I turn it down when I'm doing group flights so I can hear the voices over the aircraft easily. Okay, full throttle. Holding a small amount of right rudder to hold the centre line. Coming up through 100. Whoa, with the wind is really kicking us sideways. Rotate, and we're up. Gear up. Flaps up. and autopilot. And we now go to a nav mode. So this is LNAV, lateral navigation mode. So the autopilot is now going to follow the programmed flight plan. So you can see we're climbing and accelerating. So all I have to look after is the speed now. So below 10,000 feet we have to stay below 250 knots in UK airspace. Coming up through 3,000 feet. Look from outside. There's Heathrow Airport behind us, climbing away. And a few stutters. This computer really isn't capable. There's Dorney Lake where the Olympic rowing happened. So we're looking good. Just moderating the throttle ever so slightly, we're a little bit quick. So the altitude audible warning there, not warning but notification, was telling us we're within 1,000 feet now of our target altitude. So you can see the vertical speed is coming down and the aircraft is levelling out, so I need to come off the throttle. So the Citation has a FARDEC electronic throttle control, so it has detents for cruise and climb and takeoff go around. So I'm in cruise at the moment. So within those different programs the engines obviously are configured to be efficient within that power band. So when it's showing CRU it means we're in the cruise configuration of the engines. I'm just nudging the throttles forward until we arrest the speed and hold a consistent speed. So let's have a look around. You can see now we're quite some way away from Heathrow and we're beginning our left turn, part of our standard instrument departure. So you can see on the map the current leg is in magenta. If we use this right hand wheel we can zoom in and out so we can see each part of the flight plan. There's various different modes you can go through, so if I click the PFD button, the format button up here, we can see the different modes that this display can operate in. There's various different menus as well, but we don't need to really worry about them. Yeah, some of it isn't implemented yet. You get the PFD menu there, that's quite useful. It does kind of the same thing that these buttons do. So these buttons broadly control this display, and these buttons control this display. Okay, so let's have while we're flying en route, let's have a little look at some of the buttons in the cockpit. So in the it's not an MCDU, the FMC, flight management computer. So let's have a look. We've got this index button, which is quite interesting. So we can get progress via the index, and it shows you the current leg and it gives you your estimated time to each leg. Yeah, so it's saying basically we're going to get to our destination in about 7 minutes if we continue at the speed we're going. and it's telling us that a localizer will be tuned. So what that means is, because we've programmed the destination in, the ILS frequency will be tuned into the radio when we get there. So the plane knows all about it. So we're coming up to the end of the standard approach route, at which point we are under our own navigation to get to Southampton. So we are heading broadly south-southwest. So if we go and have a look on a little nav map, we can see our progress. So let's zoom out, and you can see we left Heathrow, we joined the standard instrument departure route, and we're following it now. So we're just about to come up to Gogsey, then the plane will turn right for 239 degrees. So we can come in the cockpit and see that happen. So let's watch that happen as we approach Gogsey. So it's flashing to tell us we're within half a mile of the waypoint, and it's cutting the corner off to make a smooth transition between the legs. So the next waypoint is Pepys, 10.5 miles away. I will admit I really like the CJ4 with the working title mods. It's very good. So let's just have a look down here. If we go in the index, we can program holds. So should we try that just for a laugh? So when we get to Pepys, we'll program a hold in. So hold at Pepys. So we put that in there, and we can see it illustrated what it wants to do. So if we put that hold in, that's what would happen. But we can change the nature of the hold. Inbound course, we're going to come in 239 degrees, which is our current direction. We want a maximum speed of 230 knots. We're doing 243 at the moment, but we don't have to pay too much attention to that. And we want the leg distance to be 4.1, or leg time, so we can put 0.5 on the leg time. And if you notice how this changes when I do that, yeah, it would just made the hold smaller, and we'll execute that. So that's now put a hold into our flight plan. So if we now look at our legs here, you will see we are going into a Pepys hold. So I'll let the plane do one revolution of the hold, and then we will exit that hold. So I think we can come in here. Sorry, I didn't want to do that. So we've got the hold at Pepys. So we'll wait until we're in the hold, and then I will remove the hold, and it should ask us if we want to leave the hold. Because obviously you could sit in the hold indefinitely. So instead, what you will see happen here is, instead of turning left, we will turn right and begin orbiting. There we go, we have joined the hold. So now we are in the hold. Here we go. So there's an exit hold. We don't have to delete it. We can just exit the hold. And what it will do is it will program it to exit after a revolution around the hold. So we will exit hold. Oh, it's done it immediately. Sorry. That's interesting. Okay, so that did an immediate exit. I thought it was going to carry on around. That's obviously something I need to look at. So it should now intercept this leg. So let's see where we are on the map, just out of interest. So you learn something new every time you go on the simulators. So we need to start descending to get to 2,500 feet. And we go vertical speed mode. We can come down. So we're just watching the speed bleed off. I'll put the air brakes out just to retard the speed down to 220. And we can lift the nose slightly. Obviously the lower our descent rate, the less speed the aircraft will pick up on idle. So we're now turning to rejoin the route automatically. Three and a half thousand feet, 1,000 to go. Yep, so there's the notification that we are within 1,000 feet of our target altitude. If we look out in front of us out there, you can see there's our destination runway, and you can see we are above the glide slope at the moment. So I'm going to take manual control at this point. And so we want the flaps out, sorry, the air brakes out, and we're pretty much on target now on the glide slope. So gear down, flaps down, get a bit low. So I'm just increasing the throttle to hold our speed. And at this point we are watching these diamonds. So if I zoom in a little bit so you can see this a bit more easily. We're watching those diamonds. So I'm a little bit below the vertical part of the glide slope, so I'm raising the nose just gently to put the plane back on the correct trajectory. So if you imagine there's an invisible line down to the end of the runway. If those diamonds are in the middle, we are pretty much on the line. If we drop below the vertical speed, the vertical part of the vertical component will raise above us, meaning we need to climb back up towards it, and vice versa. So we're just looking at holding that. So we're slowing down. So the C4J can land pretty slowly. I'll hold it about 120 knots or so. A little bit low. So we're looking to plant the wheels on, you see there's the bigger white marks on the runway? That's kind of a target point for you to aim for. So then cut the engines and flare. Flared a little bit early, but it's not a big problem. And we're down. Flaps up. And center our view back up. Sit up in the seat, so we don't really need to. visibility is very good in the C4J. And taxi off the runway. Welcome to Southampton. So yeah, obviously if I had timed my exit from the hold better, we would have left at a more appropriate angle, but that made it a bit more interesting actually, to show that that's how it behaves. If you exit the hold, you exit that very moment, you don't do another revolution. Let's go and park up then, and then this flight is done. Very good. This is all stock scenery, by the way. I've not got any add-ons other than the working title mod for this aircraft. So there's nothing special about this simulator at all. Should we park in to the right of this TBM that's parked here? Yeah, we'll go and park over here. Okay, wheel brakes on. Obviously, to shut the engines down and everything, it's pretty obvious how you do things. So you just switch the engines off here, the covers back over. Obviously you're going to get warnings come up about hydraulic pressure and things like that, oil pressure, there you go. So then you can turn the avionics off, and the moment you do that, Flight Sim kicks in with its silly menu. You can turn the display off. Oh, we need to turn off the pitot heat, the lights. And then we can go and turn off everything else, and we're good. And the plane is ready to go another day. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording there. So that was the CJ4, the working title CJ4 mod for Flight Simulator 2020. It's very, very good. Something else you might be interested in, away from messing around recording these videos, I do lots of group flights on the internet at a website called virtualflights.online. So if you go and head there, you can find a Discord server where we all meet up to go flying. You can find a Facebook group where we all chat about things. So yes, go and explore. Go and look for virtualflights.online. Okay, this will do for today. Thank you very much.